The casting of actors as any given character is always a hot source of debate amongst fans. Sometimes, casting directors get it so right that fans are immediately on board with their choices. Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool, Jack Nicholson as the Joker, and Daniel Day-Lewis as Abraham Lincoln were all seen as being absolutely perfect, for example. But that's not always the case. In fact, audiences are very hard to please and convince, which means that more often than not, casting decisions are met with controversy. In this video, we're going to explore just a handful of some of the casting decisions that initially at least made fans go nuts. Here are 10 controversial casting decisions that drove fans crazy. Hayden Christensen as Anakin Skywalker in the Star Wars prequels. Following Jake Lloyd's disappointing and outright annoying portrayal of Anakin Skywalker as a child in 1999 Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, the character was recast in Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith. Hayden Christensen was given the role of the character as a young man, but fans hated the idea from the start. Christensen just wasn't the right guy to portray the character's transition into one of cinema's most iconic villains, and the result of his casting was a performance that was panned by fans and critics alike. He earned 2 separate Golden Raspberry Awards for Worst Supporting Actor for his performances, reinforcing the fact that he was obviously the wrong choice for the role. Ben Affleck as Bruce Wayne in Batman vs. Superman: Dawn of Justice. Several of the previous actors who played the Dark Knight drew controversy with their casting, not least Michael Keaton, who was initially seen by fans as totally unsuitable for the role, but went on to totally nail it. But none more so than Ben Affleck, who was announced in 2013 as the man to take on the role in 2016's Batman vs. Superman: Dawn of Justice. The main problem with Affleck was that he'd already flopped in the role of a dark superhero years before as Daredevil in 2003. Bat fans just weren't convinced by him and took to the internet to vent their anger, even creating a petition to have him removed from the role, proving to fans that they should probably give actors more of a chance in the future. Jesse Eisenberg as Lex Luthor in Batman vs. Superman: Dawn of Justice. The casting of Jesse Eisenberg as Superman's arch-nemesis Lex Luthor in Batman vs. Superman: Dawn of Justice made fans pretty furious. Eisenberg was neither bald or middle-aged, and nor did he have those typical stern and chiseled facial features that are generally associated with the billionaire businessman. Even when it was revealed that the version of the character in the movie would be Lex Luthor's son, Lex Jr., fans still were not impressed. Eisenberg just wasn't seen as villain material. Ultimately, Eisenberg's portrayal divided opinion, with many fans citing the fact that he played the character more like the Joker as a major problem. But he'll be reprising the role in future DCEU movies, without his hair, incidentally, so we'll just have to see how that turns out in due course. Jared Leto as the Joker in Suicide Squad. Following Heath Ledger as the Joker was always potentially going to be a poison chalice for any actor. But when Jared Leto, a notoriously eccentric weirdo and dedicated method actor, was cast in the role, you would have thought fans would have at least given him a chance. That wasn't really the case, however. Leto was announced to make his DCEU debut as the villain in Suicide Squad back in 2014, just 6 years after Ledger won his posthumous Oscar for playing the same character, and fans were not convinced. Moreover, when the first promotional images of Leto's version were released, the internet went crazy, and not in a good way. His portrayal ended up being different, to say the least, but a lot of his scenes were cut. It's only fair that he's given a second chance in a future movie before we make a final judgment on his suitability. Ryan Reynolds as Hal Jordan in The Green Lantern. Whenever Ryan Reynolds portrays a character, that character generally just comes across being, well, Ryan Reynolds. That's perfect for a character like Deadpool. Reynolds nailed that guy. But when he was cast as DC's Hal Jordan, fans of the Green Lantern were not impressed at all. Reynolds just isn't Hal Jordan. Sure, Jordan is a quite reckless guy thanks to his absolute lack of fear toward anything, but he certainly is not a cocky clown with a childish sense of humor that Reynolds portrayed him as, and was always going to portray him as. In this case, fans were right to be wary of this casting, as Reynolds proved that he wasn't suitable for the role with his performance, and the movie unsurprisingly underperformed at the box office. Scarlett Johansson as the Major in Ghost in the Shell. Ghost in the Shell is an extremely popular Japanese media franchise that has spanned various platforms, including mangas, animated television series, and animated movies. It's a uniquely Japanese tale in many of its fans' eyes, so the casting of Scarlett Johansson as the live-action movie's lead has kicked up quite a fuss. It has been viewed as a prime example of Hollywood's ugly trend of whitewashing roles, as Johansson is obviously a white American actress. Producer Stephen Paul believes fans will be satisfied with the movie when it comes out in 2017, however, saying, "I think everybody is going to be very, very happy with it. They're going to be very, very happy with it when they see what we've actually done with it, and I don't think anybody's going to be disappointed." Justin Chatwin as Goku in Dragon Ball Evolution. To many people, Goku is every bit as iconic as the likes of Batman, Superman, and Spider-Man. And can you honestly ever see Hollywood changing the ethnicity of any of those guys? No, because it would cause an uproar. And that's exactly what happened when Goku was cast as a white guy. Justin Chatwin was cast as the character who is generally, unequivocally Japanese. This was another example of Hollywood whitewashing that didn't go down well with fans at all. Others argued that Chatwin was also too old to portray the character, as he would have been 26 at the time of Dragon Ball Evolution's release. Add on the fact that the movie totally sucked in general, and you have one of the worst castings of all time. Finn Jones as Danny Rand in Iron Fist. Controversy over castings, and indeed the apparent trend of whitewashing, aren't just limited to the world of movies, as the casting of Game of Thrones star Finn Jones as Danny Rand in Netflix's upcoming Iron Fist proves. Even though the character is white in the comic books, many people believed it would have been an ideal opportunity to cast an Asian actor in a lead Marvel role. One of the most critical people about the casting was Marvel writer Marjorie Liu, who tweeted, "Iron Fist is an Orientalist white man yellow fever narrative. An Asian actor would have helped subvert that offensive trope and reclaim space." It remains to be seen how this casting will actually turn out, however, as Iron Fist doesn't begin airing until 2017. Benedict Cumberbatch as Dr. Stephen Strange in Doctor Strange. The Doctor Strange movie in general has caused a lot of controversy with its casting. There was more Hollywood whitewashing and a change of gender for the Ancient One, while Baron Mordo was cast as a black character who will actually be an amalgamation of numerous existing characters. But none were more controversial than the casting of the lead himself. One problem was Benedict Cumberbatch's ubiquity in geek culture. He just seems to be everywhere, and it was a case of, oh no, not him again, for some fans. But another issue was recurrence of the race problem. Strange is often seen by many fans as being racially ambiguous, and given that the leading MCU Avengers are typically white males, at least those who have been given their own movies anyway, casting another white leading hero was the last straw for many MCU fans. Joseph Fiennes as Michael Jackson in Elizabeth, Michael, and Marlon. Back to the small screen now with an upcoming TV comedy movie that was cast earlier this year. The movie is going to be called Elizabeth, Michael, and Marlon, and is based on an alleged road trip that was undertaken by Elizabeth Taylor, Michael Jackson, and Marlon Brando following the tragic events of 9/11. Stockard Channing is playing Taylor, and Brian Cox is Brando, but the controversial casting came in the form of Joseph Fiennes as Jackson. Fiennes is British and white, and it's that subject of whitewashing rearing its head again. Jackson was, of course, a black American man, but famously had a condition that lightened his skin. Given that this movie takes place in a time after that condition has taken effect, it seems a little harsh to condemn the casting, but it will be interesting to see how it turns out nonetheless. Thanks for watching our video of 10 controversial casting decisions that drove fans crazy. What did you think when these actors were cast in these roles? Can you think of any other castings even more controversial than these ones? Leave a comment and let us know. If you like this video, give us a thumbs up and check out the rest of our channel. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to CBR for cool vids about movies, action heroes, gaming, comics, and more.